Okay, so a very good evening, everyone. We'll get started with the next set of past papers. But before we get started, can you all hear me and also see a screen? All good? Yes. Nice. Right. So we're going to start off with Lamai, the past papers for focus area number 14, if I'm not mistaken. Now, focus area number 14 is not very big, right? So it's on the basics of the different market structures. So there is perfect competition, monopoly, monopolistic competition, and oligopoly. It's about the basic features of it, right? So it's not a very big focus area. And then the next focus area, that is perfect competition in detail. Now there is comparatively a bit difficult questions and all of it. So today what we'll try to do is, the first 1 hour will finish off focus area number 14, and then we'll try to finish off at least the MCQs of focus area number 15. That is the target that we have for today. Right. And also in terms of this, okay, give me a second. So I'll pause the recording because that doesn't have to be on the this thing. Give me a second. Okay, so today we're going into the what? We're going into what? We're going into the focus area number 14. That's a small focus area. So give me answers faster. We'll try to finish it in the first 1 hour, and then we'll go in. To get district rank, how much you have to score? There's nothing like that, Lamai. So when you say a district rank, also you're not very certain as what. Everyone gets a rank, Lamai. As long as you pass the exam, you get a rank. So what's a good district rank? I would say at least coming among the top 100. But it also varies a lot from the districts now. For example, in Colombo, to come among the top 100 will be much difficult than, let's say, to come among the top 100 in, let's say, another district, because Colombo itself is very, very competitive. So that things are also there. So for example, if you take, now I remember in my batch, the district second from Kandy, right? So I know this guy from Kandy. He was from Trinity. He was the district second from Kandy, but his island rank is much lower than mine. Now, I was in Colombo. I remember in 2017, I was district 18th from Colombo and island 49th. That was my island rank in 2017. But then I remember the guy in Kandy, he was district second in Kandy, but his island rank was somewhere around 60 odds or 80 odds. So certain districts, Lama, it's more competitive. For example, especially Colombo is very competitive. Now, if you take, for example, certain rural districts, now even, let's say, I don't know what the rural districts are, but there could be certain districts, you might be like second in the district, but your island rank might be, let's say, for example, 200. You might have situations like that. So it's not really about this. In terms of your Z score, try to get to a good Z score of have around 2. Okay, right, we can. Next, all of this will work hard. So Colombo Z score is around, I'm not saying that Kandy is rude. I think there are districts than that is this thing. I'm just saying Kandy is comparatively less competitive than Colombo. Colombo is very competitive. Kandy, I think, I won't say it's the least competitive. Kandy may be around the 4th, 5th competitive. There are districts, now, for example, I would say these rural ones, especially, for example, Vaunia it differs, right? It's not every year anyway, but I'm saying in general, there could be certain districts here and there. Norelia is also comparatively somewhat an easy-ish district, right? So I remember I had a district first in Norelia, but their island rank was close to around the 60s or 70s, right? It was somewhere around there. So it's like that. Now, for example, usually in Colombo, if you're among the top 10 in the district, you're also like among the top 10 in the island also, because Colombo is very competitive. That's how the ranks go. So that you can't change that. Ratnapura is a bit competitive now. Ratnapura, Kurunagala, there are some very competitive schools, very competitive people. Okay. So that's there, right? So we'll talk about Z scores and all of it. We'll take that in a while. So shall we get started? So there was a cartoon. What does the cartoon mean? Before we get into things, we usually talk a little bit about current context as well. What is this cartoon about? There's someone, there is a baby, there is something saying new education reforms. There is a lady Who is the lady? What is the lady doing? What's happening over here? So that's the lady is a representation of whom? It's a representation of the current prime minister. Yes, Sri Lankan Prime Minister Harini. So what's happening over here? What is she throwing off? So she's throwing off something called history. So what is happening now? What are they doing with the education reforms? One thing that they have done is they've made history not a compulsory subject. So far until now, history is a compulsory subject. All of us have to do history. So they are removing history. I personally feel that's a good thing, right? Because I feel history is not that important. It's good to know history, right? But you don't have to learn about what Pandukabaya did and the Dasamayodayo and this and that and his brother and how that fellow killed each other. I think is not that important. So having it as an optional subject, I feel is okay. And maybe what I would have preferred is having something like IT as a compulsory subject line. IT should not be an optional subject because right now going forward, due to the importance of something like IT, because I've seen so much of students, they've got 3 A's for A levels, done so well, but they lack the most basic IT skills. Right? Formatting a document on Word, right? Can't get anything on Excel done. Right? The most basic IT skills they can't handle. So I think the IT also should not be very technical IT. It's not about talking about these logic gates and binary and all of it. I feel more practical IT is what has to be given into students. And especially with now AI and all of that coming up, students should know that level. So I feel my personal opinion, maybe move history out as optional, bring in something like IT as a more compulsory subject is what I feel. But they have not done anything to IT. IT is still optional because they can't make IT compulsory. Why? Why can't they make IT compulsory? Yes, I also hate history from small days, and I was also not very good at history. Exactly. Because of Lama, we don't have the capacity, right? Because if you look at the rural areas, you don't have Lama, you don't have teachers. Who's going to teach IT then? And then to teach IT Lama, you got to have computer labs. So does all the rural schools out there have a computer lab? They might have, for example, one computer. So can, let's say, a class of 30 students learn with just one computer? You can't. So until that infrastructure capacity in schools develop, it's very hard to make something like IT a compulsory subject. So those kind of things are there. So that is what is happening. I'm not sure how the syllabus change would come. So probably I think a few years down the line, there would be a syllabus change. So hopefully I would like if the whole syllabus becomes much more practical and it becomes much more interesting. Main subjects English, maths. It's your first language. So I think there are 4 main subjects now. No, I think the compulsory subjects is science, maths, your first language, either Sinhala or Tamil, based on what you're doing. There is English and also religion. So you have 5 main subjects. That is that. All the subjects have changed from 9 to 7. I'm not very sure about that. I am not very sure. Maybe it's still 9. I think it's just that IT is optional now. So maybe it would be like not IT. History is optional. They made it 7. Oh, really? Maybe then. So I don't know. So maybe they've brought it down to 7. Could be something nice. Okay. So shall we get started then? Let's go. Question number 1. 2011, question number 21. So I want all of you all, give me answers on the chat box. Don't fall asleep in class. Give me answers on chat box. Based on that, I know how good you all are, and then I don't have to explain too much. So first one, which the following is not consistent with perfect competition? General knowledge, yes, Lama, please go and do that, babe. So what is not consistent? Not consistent means what is the one that is wrong? What do you all think? A large number of consumers and producers? Correct. No, perfect competition is like, for example, paddy farmers. So large number of, this is correct. Advertising by individual firms. Have you seen a paddy farmer coming and advertising? Has a paddy farmer put an ad on a TV, hurry, newspaper, hurry, social media boosting? No. So that could be the wrong one. That could be your answer. One market price, yes. Homogeneous product, yes. Perfect elastic demand curve of a firm, yes. So the one that is not consistent or the one that does not fall into this is answer number 2. Easy one. Then we go into the next one. Next one is talking about monopolistic competition. Now, what is monopolistic competition? Monopolistic competition is where there are large number of firms. For example, restaurants, saloons, Right? You have large number of firms. They might be selling lamai mostly a differentiated product. A differentiated product, yani, it's the same generic product, but they make small changes. Now think of restaurants. Restaurants, everyone has kottu lamai, but everyone's kottu is not the same, no? Some people more cheese, some people more vegetables, some people no chicken. And it's a little different. That is what you call monopolistic competition. For your general knowledge paper, let me just do a past paper or two. You will get the format of it. Please do the general knowledge paper, because if you want to get into local university, you have to pass general knowledge, the common general test. You have to pass it. Without passing it, you can't get into a local uni. So to pass it, you need 30 or 40 marks out of 100. It's an MCQ paper. Go through a few past papers, you will see the normal common trend. So which one is the answer here, Lamai? Monopolistic competition. Only one firm? No, only one firm, Lamai. That is monopoly. So this is monopoly, not monopolistic competition. A small number of firms? No, a small number of firms is in an oligopoly. And you have it in an oligopoly. Large number of firms producing an identical product. Identical means Lamai, homogeneous, same. Is everyone selling the same thing? Or is it a large number of firms producing a differentiated product? Differentiated is your correct answer. No? So everyone is selling the generic same thing. Now, even tuition classes, everyone is doing tuition classes. But our tuition class is different from one another. No? How one teacher teaches is not how I teach. My class timing is different. My language might be different. So much of things are different. So that's that. And then number 5, no advertising. So that's also wrong. Monopolistic competition, you have crazy amounts of advertising. Did you see this? Do you all know this singular medium teacher, the bio teacher? He teaches bio, no? Dinesh Mutugala. Yes. What has he done recently? You all know this Mutugala sir, right? What's he done? So recently he has now started producing movies also. Right? So he's also one of the actors in the movie. So it's his own movie. And so he's now producing a movie. He's got a few actors and actresses from here and there. He's produced his own movie. And he's also this thing. I think the movie's name is Surya, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's the director or producer. I don't know exactly how the term works. Surya, oh, it was something like that. So just search and see. It's there on it's going on the cinemas now. Right? It's on the cinemas. Yesterday I was there. Not to watch his one, but it was there. So that's diversifying. Okay, so 17, answer number. Also, teachers, they advertise a lot, no? After now, these days also, you might see so much of ads just on the normal local TV and see. So much of ads, there might be. If I start acting, I think that is where the acting industry will start closing now. So yeah, so I will not get into any of that. Then going into the next one, 2014. 2014 question number 18. How does this work? When there are few large firms, so few large firms selling a homogeneous or a differentiated product, this is known as a what? Easy one, Lamai. But yeah, exactly. For TV ads, you have to pay lakhs and lakhs. It's not easy. Now, the moment they say few large firms, you can figure out the thing. No? Few large firms, few large firms you have in oligopoly. Am I monopolistic? Yeah, monopolistic, you have a lot. Monopolistic competition is like the restaurants, saloons. That is what we saw over here, this previous MCQ. So oligopoly is like the telecommunication industry. You have Dialog, Mobitel, Airtel, around 3 or 4 people. That's it. Maybe TV channels, let's say around 20 TV channels. So even a number, let's say between 20 to 30 or even less than that could be something like an oligopoly. So answer number 4. That's an easy one. 2011, the answer was number 2. Okay. Then coming into 2014, now there is another one. That's an interesting one. 2014 question number 20. They're asking, a monopoly firm can decide. What can they decide? Now, I'll give you an example, Lamai. An example of, let's say in Sri Lanka, we have Lamai, Sri Lanka railway industry. Railway is a monopoly. No? So you have the railway authority. Okay, Sri Lanka railway authority. So they're asking you, what can they decide? Can they decide the price of the good only, price or the quantity, quantity only, both price and quantity, both production cost and quantity? What do you think they can decide? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So if you take Lamai, the railway authority, now they'll have Lamai a normal downward sloping demand curve. Okay. Let's say the railway authority decides. Now, you all know Lamai train tickets mara labha. You can get a train ticket for how much? Let's say 20 rupees, 30 rupees, you can get a train ticket. Let's say if the railway authority decides to charge a higher ticket price. Let's say they decide to charge Lamai, let's say 100 rupees per ticket. Do you think they can charge 100 rupees and also get a high amount of people to come? Do you think they can do that? 100 rupees and also a lot of people? No, right? Maybe if they charge 100 rupees, maybe people might start going by bus Lamai. So if they decide on the price, they might not be able to decide on the quantity. Then people might start falling off. But let's say a monopoly, Sri Lankan Railway Authority decided we want to have 100,000 people going on the train every day. Now, if they decide on the quantity, then Lamai, they can't control the price. So if they decide on the quantity, then they'll have to give it at a lower price. Maybe they might have to sell it, let's say, at 20 rupees. So it's only one of it that you can decide, Lamai. Just because you're a monopoly, you can't charge a high price and expect to sell a high quantity also. Now, our Sri Lankan Railways, they can't charge 100 rupees for a ticket and expect 100,000 people to come. You can do one of it. You can either, let's say, decide, okay, I'm going to charge a high price. Then anything you can't control the quantity. Or you can decide, I'm going to sell a higher quantity. Then you can't have the thing on a price. Is Apple a monopoly by any chance? Not really, right? So you can't say this, but what you can say on Apple is it has a lot of market power. And being the market lead, it has a lot of market power. So then you can do things. But even and his brand loyalty. Okay. So the answer here then is Lamai. It's not the rest, it's answer number 2. You can decide either the price, echo price, you can decide on Lamai the quantity, one of the two there. Okay, done. That's 2014 question 20. Example for model level is something like the Sri Lanka Railway Authority, where you just have one firm in the entire thing. Can you say Marmite has a monopoly? Interesting. Could be, no? There is nothing like Marmite, no? But why not 3? The quantity only, you can decide the price also if you want. You can decide either the price or either the quantity. So you can't say only the quantity. So you can't say only the price, you can't say only the quantity, you can't say both also. Either one of it. Make a natham, make a you can decide. But that is the story of Lama. Remember, this is not just for a monopoly. Now, even if you take, for example, me, right? Monopoly is a price maker, not a price taker. Okay. Our luxurious brands monopolies doesn't necessarily. Guys, the definition for a monopoly is where there is just one firm in the market. That's what a monopoly is. So Sri Lanka Railway Authority, Sri Lanka Electricity Board, Water Board, they're monopolies. So there is nothing saying that a luxury brand has to be a monopoly. Okay. So remember, this thing of deciding price or quantity is not just a thing for monopoly, Lamai. If you look at now, even for example, take my classes, if I am deciding that I'm going to charge a certain price, I don't have control over the quantity. If I decide I want more quantity, then I don't have control over the price. So one of the two is that. Is oligopoly and monopolistic competition the same? Not at all. It's two different things. Guys, I'm hoping you all know the basics here, right? Otherwise, it gets very difficult. Why price only? Not price only. So you can control the price or the quantity. Either you can control the price, either you can control the quantity. One of the two. You can't do both. Okay. That's 20, answer 2. Then go to the next one. 2015 A-levels, question number 21. Mithun, I'm asking, which the following is not a characteristic of a monopolistically competitive firm. So monopolistically competitive, again, remember, large number of firms like saloons, restaurants. So which one is not a characteristic? A relatively easy market entry. Yes, no, if you want to open a saloon, no one's going to stop you. No, you can easily enter. Fine. Differentiated products? Yes. Substantial advertising? Yes, Lama, that is a characteristic. You have a lot of advertising. Monopolistic competition, so much for advertising. Then large number of buyers and sellers? Correct. Now take below saloons and all, large number of buyers, large number of sellers. Then a firm faces perfectly elastic demand curve. Which firm faces a perfectly elastic demand curve? There is only one type of market structure that has a perfectly elastic demand curve. Which one? Yeah, perfect competition, they don't have advertising. Which one? Perfect competition. Perfect competition only Lamai has a, the firm will have a perfectly elastic demand curve, not the industry. The firm will have a perfectly elastic demand curve. Why? Because the firm is a price take. Only a single O for single O in a sense. Sorry, one is a saloon. I think you can spell it both ways, right? You can have one O or you can have double. The difference between one O and double O, I think if I'm not mistaken, one O is where you have all the things. Double O is where you only cut hair. I remember something like that. Why is the third one wrong? Because you can't say third one is right. Now, how can you say they're asking not a characteristic? Third one is saying there is substantial advertising. So monopolistic firms, there is so much of advertising. No? Look at tuition classes, how much of advertising? Look at the restaurants, how much of advertising? Look at the clothing stores, how much of advertising? You have so much of advertising. So that is a characteristic. Yeah. If they say relatively elastic, then is it a feature? Relatively elastic, even if they say downward sloping, I would say that's a feature. If they say the demand is downward sloping, yes, could be elastic as well. No problem. Yes, the previous one I discussed, previous one answer was 2. Then 2015 question number 21 is done. Then going into 2017. 17 question number 18. They're saying, which of the following is not usually a characteristic of a perfectly competitive market? Not a characteristic. Number 1, no individual firm has any significant amount of market power. So no firm has significant market power. Correct. The market demand curve is perfectly elastic. Is that correct? Yeah. In perfect competition, yes, demand curve is perfectly elastic. But is that the market demand curve? That's where you all miss it out. So let me remember, in perfect competition, we have learned this in detail. The market means the industry. Industry has a normal downward sloping demand and supply curves. This is the market. But it's that individual firm. It's an individual firm, Lamai, that has a perfectly elastic demand curve. Don't get that confused. The market has a downward sloping demand curve. The firm is the one that has a flat, elastic, perfect elastic demand curve. So answer number 2 is also wrong there. Now, that could be your answer. You can't say the market has a perfect elastic demand curve. The market, Lamai, has a downward sloping demand curve. The firm has a perfectly elastic demand. So it's not market. It has to be the firm. Then that would have been correct. Market is, Lamai, the collection of all the firms. For example, one paddy farmer is the firm. All the paddy farmers put together is what you call the market. Then number 3, then all of those should be correct, Lamai. An individual firm can increase its production and sales without affecting the price. Yes, no, there are price taken. So one paddy farmer, whether he sells 10 kilos of paddy or 50 kilos of paddy, he's not going to affect the market price. That is correct. Existing firms cannot bar the entry of new firms. Cannot bar means cannot prevent. So can one paddy farmer prevent another paddy farmer from coming? No, they can't. Anyone can become paddy farmers. And then large number of buyers and sellers. Yes. So then 1, 3, 4, 5 are all characteristics. Which one is not the characteristic is number 2. Okay, done. So answer is 2. Then the next one, 2017, question 19. So they're asking you, they've given some information regarding perfect compression is a PD constant. Constant in the sense PD is infinity. Perfect elastic. That's what we say. Table below displays assumptions. Assumptions can characteristics. Assumptions here means characteristics. So characteristics of perfect and monopolistic. Which combination is consistent? Consistent means correct. Which one is correct? Perfect competition, homogeneous product. Okay. Monopolistic, barriers to entry. No, there is no barriers to entry. So this is correct. This is wrong. So answer 1 is wrong. Perfect competition, differentiated products. No, you have homogeneous products. Here homogeneous, no, here differentiated. Then both are wrong. Perfect competition, large number of sellers. Yes. Monopolistic, small number of sellers. No, monopolistic also has large. Wrong. Barriers to entry. Wrong. Perfect information, you can say near to perfect information. But here also, I will just keep it as half correct. Then large number of sellers. Yes. Differentiated products. Yes. So if you know the characteristics, these are very easy MCQs, no? So that is number 5. Done. Then 2018, they're saying, which of the following are characteristics of a perfectly competitive market? New firms can enter the market easily. Can you quickly give me a yes or a no? Is it a characteristic? New firms can enter the market easily. One paddy farmers, another one can easily enter. Correct. Yes. There is no product differentiation. Yes. Everyone has like, do they have home and heteroboth? No, that is oligopoly. So there is no product differentiation. Yes, because everyone has a homogeneous product. There is no differentiation. Market demand curve is perfectly elastic. No, the firm's demand curve is perfectly. We learned this in the previous MCQ. So wrong. The supply curve of a firm is perfectly elastic. No, the demand curve of the firm is perfectly elastic. What is the supply curve of the firm? Supply curve of the firm. Do you remember we learned the supply curve of the firm is the marginal cost curve above AVC. Supply curve is not perfectly elastic. No, it's the MC curve above AVC. That is the marginal cost curve. So 18 is number. Then C and D is wrong. 18 is number 1. 2017, the answer was number 5. Yes, if you all miss a question, check that in your past paper book, right? All these answers are there. No? Otherwise, I have to keep going up and down. Okay. Then 18 is done. 18 is number 1. Then going into the next one. 18 has another question. Which the following market structures do firms recognize their mutual interdependence? Where do you have a lot of mutual interdependence? Mutual interdependence in one firm depends on another firm. They work together. Where is it? Oligopoly, monopoly, perfect comparison, natural monopoly, monopolistic. Mutual interdependence is there in an oligopoly. Right? Remember, we talk about how oligopolies also, they don't have price-based competition. Now, for example, take Dialog Airtel. I'll show you how they are interdependent. Now, if you take a signal tower, right, you all would have seen these red signal towers, and these signal towers that are there. So in one signal tower, let's say, for example, Dialog sets up the signal tower, but it will not just be the Dialog antenna. No? You will have a Dialog antenna. You will have, for example, a Mobitel antenna. And Hutch will also come and put their antenna. So everyone puts the antennas there. Because instead of 3 people setting up 3 different signal towers, it's cheaper to set one signal tower and share it. No? And mutual interdependence. They depend on one another. And also in terms of price, they don't compete on price. Because remember, we would have talked about oligopolies don't have price-based competition. In an oligopoly, if let's say, for example, Dialog goes and reduces price. Let's say right now, 1 GB of internet is 100 rupees. Just an example. In general, everyone is charging 100 rupees. Dialog goes and reduce price. Dialog says, we will give 1 GB at, let's say, 50 rupees. Then what happens, Lama? Then everyone else will also reduce price. No? Mobitel will also reduce the price. Airtel will also reduce the price. Let's say Hutch will also reduce the price. Everyone reduces price. Then at the end, what happens? All of them were earning 100 rupees per GB of internet. Now, because one fellow did a stupid thing, now all of them are earning only 50 rupees for a GB of internet. Now, that is why they won't have price-based competition. Oligopolies will never compete based on price. They won't have price-based competition. They will compete based on the quality, the standard of their product. Now, for example, let's say, take for example me. Let's say I have my class, and let's say I have, let's say 3 or 4 other big econs who are my competitors. We'll say, if I go and now let's say all of us are charging, let's say 3,000 rupees theory class fees, me, that sir, other sir, let's say 5 big econ teachers out there are charging 3,000 rupees a month. If I like a fool go and charge 2,000 rupees to get more students, then they will also reduce their class fees. Then at the end of the day, all of us were earning 3,000 rupees, 5,000 rupees, sorry, 3,000. Now we are earning only 2,000. So oligopolies won't have price-based competition. They have non-price competition. Oligopolies, they will advertise, they will show how their product is different, right? They will try to, build brand loyalty. They will come up with different packages. Now, for example, think of this dialogue, what are they doing, They're coming up with so much different packages, Fun Blaster, nighttime data, work and learn data, bonus data. They have so much of different things. That's how they compete, They don't change the original price product. Now, for example, if you take my classes, I won't compete by reducing the price. Let's say if I want to compete, I will focus on the quality of my class. I'll try to make my class better. I'll try to make my tute better. I'll try to, for example, work on my delivering style. I'll make that better. So, Anna, something like that. That's so that. Tuition class is more likely it's monopolistic, but I'm just saying if there are, let's say, 4 or 5 big teachers, that could be oligopoly. Okay. So, answer there is number 1. Can luxury brands be taken as example? It depends. So usually you can, because luxury brands do have a few firms, you can, but you don't have to necessarily be. Okay. Then 2019. Okay, 2019 question number 50. An industry with a small number of firms producing a standardized. Standardized means same. Everyone is selling standard, homogeneous or differentiated product is called a what? Same answer as the last one, no? Small number of firms, where do you have, small number of firms you have in oligopoly. Standardized, either they might be selling a homogeneous or they might be selling a differentiated product. If I'm to give you an example, now take, for example, Dialog Mobitel. Dialog Mobitel, they have a homogeneous product. The call that you take from a dialog phone and the call that you take from a Mobitel phone, it's not differentiated. The data, right? Dialog data, Mobitel data, maybe speeds might be different, but I'm just saying that's a homogeneous product. But let's say differentiated. For example, take newspapers. Newspapers are oligopolies. So, for example, Sunday Times, they will differentiate. No, they will put Fun Day Times and other times and hit that and all of that, and they'll differentiate. Sunday Observer will put different things there. This one. So they will differentiate their thing. So you might either have homogeneous or you might either have differentiated products. Now, even if you take, for example, take petrol in Sri Lanka, petrol is a oligopoly market. You have Sipetco, you have Lanka IOC, now you have the Sinopec coming in, and you have, what is the Australian one? The new one, I can't remember the name, right? So all of that, yeah, you have Shell, no, what's the other one? There's another one. The other one, I can't remember the name, okay? So all of them are selling the same petrol, 92 octane ekama petrol. So that's homogeneous products. So oligopolies can either have homogeneous products, they can even have differentiated products. But you have a small number of firms. So answer there is number 3, 2019. Then the next one, 2020 question number 17. Which of the following is necessarily a characteristic of oligopolistic market? Oligopolistic means oligopoly. Yeah? What? Free entry and exit? No, it's not easy. You can't enter a market like that. A few large-scale producers? Yes. See, all the questions have been oligopoly. No? Only one producer? One producer is monopoly. So then that is also wrong. Wrong. Homogeneous product? Not necessarily. It could be a homogeneous or it could be a differentiated product. So homogeneous or differentiated. So therefore wrong. No opportunities for collusion. Collusion means them working together. Now, I'll give you an example of collusion. Are banks oligopoly? Yes. So I'll give you a United Petrol. Yes, that's the Australian one. So example of collusion. Okay, let's say there are 3 econ teachers out there. Yes, I just want to do, I don't know too much about the market. I know wherever you all go for your theory class, how many students does your theory class teacher have? Econ. People out of Colombo here and there and all of it. How many teachers, how many students do your theory class teacher roughly have? I don't want exactly. Around 5,000. Okay, damn, that's big. English medium? Econ? In your batch only, I'm not talking about all the batches in total. Okay, 500. 600. Okay, that's nice. 500. Okay, so then maybe there could be around, right? Maybe if you take, for example, English medium econ classes, there could be around maybe, let's say, 3-4 teachers dominating the market. Yeah. I have no idea who dominates. I'm not in the physical market. I don't care about who does the physical classes. So I'm on an online thing. I'm doing my thing on my own. So we'll say, let's say there are 3 classes. So there is me, Arshad. And let's say there are 2 other people, Mr. X and X, Mr. Y and Y. Okay. So let's say we are the 3 main econ teachers out there. Let's say there is almost no other teachers there. So I'm going to teach you how collusion works. So how collusion works is, let's say even though these 3 of us are competitors, what we can do is we can get together and do things. Now, for example, the 3 of us can get together and we can decide theory class fees is not 3,000. Let's all charge 5,000. Then what are you all going to do? You have no option. And that is what you call collusion now. They collude with each other. So they say, look here, we'll do this. Now, another form of collusion is by reducing the supply. Now, tuition classes, you can't do that. For example, things like, fuel. If you, let's say, for example, Sipetco, Lanka, IOC are the 2 main ones. Gas. Right? So what they can do is both of them can decide, let's say, both of us, let's reduce our supply. Because if both of them reduce their supply, price of gas will start going up. They can do that. That is collusion. They get together and they say, let's not supply much. Let's reduce our supply. Then so many people will come behind us. We can increase our price. So collusion is illegal. It's not a legal thing to do. So if the government feels that there is any type of collusion that is happening, the government will interfere. So that's the story of collusion. So in an oligopoly, there are chances where collusion can actually come. Collusion is not really interdependence. Collusion is where you get together to kind of, do something that is not really a good thing to do, kind of. Yeah. Will I ever do a physical class? I don't think I'll get into, I don't know. Recently I started considering it at one point. Now again, that thing has died out. There was an accounting sir in Colombo leading. You all might know him or might not know. He invited me to, let's do a class scale. He's anyway doing accounting physically. He wanted me to do econ, but then we were thinking, I'll not mention any names, not nice. So, but I thought about it, right? But then I kept it aside for now. Yes, for those who are giving me the name on the chat box, yes. Right. So then that's the story there, right? On collusion. Most common form of collusion, In Sri Lanka, you don't see a lot of collusion happening, right? So I can't give you an example of most common forms. Either it's on colluding on the price, or it's something on colluding on, let's say something like the supply. That's one of it. Okay, right. Then, okay, that's 17. Then we go to the next one, 2021. 2021, question number 18. Politics as collusion, that's a different story though, right? Which of the following industries in Sri Lanka are most likely to be monopolistically competitive? I gave you this example in class also. Which one? Tire manufacturing, television broadcasting, soft drinks, newspapers, beauty salons. Where do you think you have monopolistic competition? Where you have large number, let's say for example, at least 200 to 500 or maybe 1,000 odd firms. Which one? Number 5, right? Saloons. Soft drinks lamai venna bෑනේ. Soft drinks whom do you have? You have Coca-Cola, you have Elephant House, you have Kick Cola, you have a few, right? You have maybe 10 brands out there. Beauty salons lama, you might have 100, 200, 100, 200 maybe. You might have, let's say, 1,000, 2,000 saloons in the country. That's a lot. So that's monopolistic competition. Then go in the next one, 2024. That's the last one that we have, no? 24. Only past 2024. Demand for soft drinks is high, but supply is few. I don't think supply is few, no? There is still a lot of supply. What's the first one? First one, tire manufacturing, I feel is more like oligopoly. You don't have a lot of manufacturers, maybe be 5 to 10 manufacturers for tires. Okay. Which of the following combination of industry characteristics indicates the monopolistically competitive industry? Monopolistically competitive, which one is correct? Freedom of entry. The barriers are high or low? Quickly tell me. Barriers. High or low? Newspapers are oligopoly, not monopoly. Low. The nature of the product, is it a homogeneous, differentiated, or unique product? You have a differentiated product. The firm's demand curve, monopolistic competition, will be downward sloping. So then which one is your answer? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 4. Low barriers, differentiated, and downward sloping. Right. So that's all that we have in terms of the MCQs. I think there were around 13 MCQs. How did you all do out of 13? The questions were easy. Yeah? So I would say a good mark is at least around 8 or 9 out of 13. Because there was nothing that was hard. It's basic, normal characteristics of perfect competition. At least 8 or 9 out of 13, I feel is a pretty good mark. Good. Nice. Most of you have done well. Okay, some of you have got 30 out of 13 also. Okay. Do you want a small 4-minute break to get some water? And then we go to paper 2? Okay. So it's 7:51. I'll give you 4 minutes, not a very long one. We'll soon finish paper 2, and then we'll try to start the MCQs of the next one. So now it's 3 minutes. Take a break until 7:55. I'll also fill my water bottle and come back. So you can also drink some water and come back. Okay. Take 3 minutes. Okay, so we'll start Lama with the essay questions of this area. Again, there are not a lot of essay questions. Certain essay questions are very common, so we can skip a few as well because it gets repeated again and again. So we'll get started then. Right. So we'll go with the first one. The first one is saying, what are the 4 types of market structures? Explain the distinguishing characteristics of any one of them. Okay, so it's a 6-mark question. Now, I told you before you start writing, always break the question down. So explain the 4 types of market structures. Now, what are the 4 types of market structures? Probably for labeling that, they might give you around half a mark each. Half a mark into 4 marks, then you get 2 marks there. Then explain the distinguishing characteristics of any 4 of them. So then 6-mark question, okay, balance 4 marks might be here. Then how many characteristics should you explain now? If they're giving around 4 marks. Ideally, minimum 4, no? So you need to put that, use your common sense there, Navai. Don't explain 2 or don't explain 3. So break the question down, see how many marks they would allocate and get to that. Okay, so shall we quickly, Lamai? Now, because this question will get repeated again and again and again and again, shall we quickly talk about the characteristics of all the firms, all the structures? So first tell me, what are the structures? You have perfect competition. There is perfect competition. You have Lamai monopolistic. Monopolistic competition. You have oligopoly. And you have monopoly. Okay. We'll start with Lamai, the product. Sorry, number of sellers will say, what can you tell about the number of sellers in perfect competition? You have number of sellers. You have a very large number of sellers. No, you have like huge amounts. So you can say large or even very large. Both of it is okay. Right? Perfect competition. Very large number of sellers. Monopolistic. What can you say? If they distinguish implicit, explicit, I'll come that at the end. Okay. Here you can say large number of sellers. Oligopoly. You can say few dominant, right? Just instead of saying few, you can say few dominant sellers. What about monopoly? You have one, right? You just have one firm or one seller, right? What about the product that these people are selling now? What can you tell about that? No, you don't have to explain everything. You just have to explain one of it. But I'm right. I'm explaining all of this so that in the future questions, I will not do it. What about the number of how the product? Here you have a homogeneous product. Homogeneous products. In monopolistic, you have a differentiated product. Differentiated. In an oligopoly, you might have homogeneous or differentiated. So I'll just write short forms. Homogeneous or differentiated. In a no, don't draw a table at this level, please. I'm just trying to summarize the thing for you. In your thing, it has to be paragraph format. Huh? Here you have a unique product. Only you are selling that product there. Then, in terms of what else? We'll talk about, let's say, barriers to entry. What can you say? Are there barriers to entry? Yes or no? Perfect competition. No barriers to. No barriers to enter or exit. Monopolistic, are there barriers? Monopolistic also no barriers. Oligopoly, there is barriers, right? So you can say has barriers to enter or exit. Monopoly also has barriers to enter or exit, right? Then what about Lamai, the let's say price taking behavior, right? Perfect competition is a price taker or a price maker. They are a price taker. Because they are a price taker, Lamai, how is the demand curve that they have? Downward sloping or perfectly elastic? The firm is a price taker, therefore the firm has a perfectly elastic demand curve. We'll write that also. Because you are a price taker, you have a perfectly elastic demand curve. How about the others, Lamai? Monopolistic, oligopoly, monopoly. All of them are what? Their price makers. Yes, anyway, that's all right. If today's your first day, you'll at least have another 4 months to go. So all of these are what? Price makers. Done. So I'll just write in common. As a result of being a price maker, how does your demand curve look like? You have a downward sloping demand curve. All right, downward sloping. Oligopoly has a kink demand curve. Kink demand curve is, I'll show you. You don't have to know that much in detail. Downward sloping demand curve. So oligopoly has a demand curve like this. For example, in oligopoly, it's like this. The top part is elastic. The bottom part is inelastic. That's what you call a kink demand curve. I would have gone into detail and explained that in class, but you don't have to know why is it and how does it work and all of it on there. As long as you simply know that there is a kink demand curve, that is enough for oligopoly. Okay. Then what else can we say, Lavai? Any other characteristics? The information. What can I say? In perfect comparison, you have perfect information or imperfect information. Here you have perfect information. It's not out of syllabus. You need to know that there is a kink demand. There is perfect info. In monopolistic lemma, you say you have near to perfect info, right? So you say near to perfect. It's not perfect, but near to perfect. In oligopoly and monopoly lemma, you say there is imperfect information. Imperfect. Kink demand curve is in oligopoly. What is price taking in simple terms? Price taking is where you can't set your own price. Now, for example, we've learned that in perfect comparison. In perfect comparison, one farmer doesn't have the power to set their own price. If everyone is selling a kilo of rice at 100 rupees, you also have to sell at 100 rupees. You have to take their price. You can't go and say, no, I will sell at 150. That's what you call a price taker. A price maker is someone who can set their own price. They can say, no, I'm going to sell a different price. That's a price maker there. Right, I think then you can, if you want, apart from this, you can talk a little bit about advertising. So who and who doesn't have advertising? There are two of these people who won't advertise. Who won't advertise? Oligopoly advertisers. Now, haven't you seen Dialogue Mobitel advertising? Who doesn't advertise? Monopolies won't advertise. And monopolistic advertisers, tuition classes, saloons, restaurants. Perfect competition won't advertise. So perfect competition will have no ad. Monopoly will also have no advertising. So you don't see the Sri Lanka Railway Department coming and advertising. Saloons advertise. I've seen enough and more saloons advertising. If you go and look at their Instagram pages, the amount of advertising they have. Proper big saloons. Have you all seen this one? What is that big saloon in this one? Saloon. Who is that guy with Leo, no? The one with the 5 floors and around, I saw an interview also recently. 5 floors and around 50 odd people. There is so much of advertising. Now think of, for example, restaurants. Every time you go on Facebook or Thinglama, you will see this one. Yeah, that's the thing. No, it's not Sandimal's one. No, Sandimal's one is, I think, smaller than that. Yeah, even Sparsilog, yes. So much of advertising. Right. So that's that. Yeah, that I would say is a story. So now in this question, I'm just discussing the whole thing because next question, they ask all of this. So what are the 4 types of market structures? Give the 4 and remember, they are saying, explain the characteristics of one. Explain, you can't state, you have to you have to write about 4 characteristics. Each characteristic talk about in like 2 to 3 lines. That's what I would say, right? So for example, I would say, okay, let's say perfect compression. So in perfect compression, I'm explaining no barriers to enter or exit. So I would say, okay, in a perfectly competitive market, there are no barriers to enter or exit, which means any firms can easily enter the market and also they can easily exit the market whenever needed. Oh, and you can also maybe add a line saying, which means that an existing firm cannot bar the entry of another firm. Remember that MCQ question there was, an existing firm cannot prevent the entry of another firm coming in. And you can give a small thing. you can write. So on a you need to have 4 different paragraphs for the 4 characteristics. Nicely write your answer. Easy 6 marks score. Okay. You can take a screenshot of this if you want, because the next questions that we have, if it is repeated, I'm not going to discuss. Yeah, you can give a few examples if you want, but example itself won't carry marks. It will just make your answer look a little better. Okay. Should we write all 4 structures with 4 characteristics? No. The question itself is saying explain this category of one of them. So read the question. So you write all 4 of it. Of one of this, explain the characteristics. That. Then the next one. 2012 A levels. What is meant by a prize maker and what is meant by a prize taker? Now, who is a prize maker? I'll start with prize taker first. A prize taker is someone, right? A firm that does not have an ability to set its own price. Instead, what should they do, Lamai? Instead, they will have to sell at the market price. So at whatever price that others are selling, you also have to sell at that. You can't set your own price. So who falls under this? Mainly perfect competition. Why? If you want, you can give reason. Because a perfectly competitive firm has a homogeneous product. There is a large number of sellers, and also there is perfect information. So because of those 3 reasons, a firm becomes a price taker. You can't set your own price. You have to take whatever price that others are taking. For example, 1 kilo of samba rice. If everyone is selling 1 kilo of samba rice at 100 rupees, you also have to sell at 100. You can't go and sell at a different price. That's perfect. Then you can talk about this. So can we say in this way, a price maker does not have the right to change the price of the quantity? No, I won't go there. Okay. So who is a price maker then? A price maker is a firm, the same thing, right? The opposite. A firm that has the power, right? Has the power to set its own price. So then who are the price makers? Everyone apart from this. Monopoly, oligopoly, even monopolistic competition are all price makers. Why can they be a price maker? Maybe their product is different from another person. Now, for example, I am not charging the same class fees that another sir is charging, because my product is different. My price might be higher, my price might be lower. Based on what I am offering them, I will charge. So you have a differentiated product. Maybe you have a very small amount of firms. There could be multiple reasons why you become a price maker. So give those and product explain that. So for 2 marks, explain what is price maker in 1 paragraph. In another paragraph for 2 marks, explain what is a price taker. The price is by the firm itself. Price taker is a firm. That's okay, but I would say you will have to expand that a little. Okay, demand the price, but cancel any quantity. Yeah, that is okay, but you have to expand that a little. Okay, right. Then 2012, there is another one. See, my same thing now. What distinguishes oligopoly from monopolistic competition? Now, see, they're giving you 6 marks. Now, I would ideally recommend 6 different things. Now, here, I would not recommend to draw a table. My table is this Baba type of answer. So what I will do is, now, table there are characteristics. So take these characteristics and combine and write a part. Now, I will write one of this, you write the others. So for example, I'll start with the first one. They're asking you to distinguish monopolistic and oligopoly. We'll start with the number of firms. So you can say, for example, I'll give you 1 point. You'll have to write 6. So you can say, in an oligopoly, oligopoly, there would be few dominant firms. Few dominant firms. While in monopolistic competition, there are large number of firms. And ඒ වගේ ළමයි. Now this is one point. Just like this, you need to write 6 different points. That is how, because it's 6 marks, they will give you 1 mark for each. So you can talk about the product, talk about the barriers to entry, talk about the information, talk about, let's say, anything. You can talk about the demand curve. This has a normal downward sloping, that has a kink demand curve. So any 6 is what I want you to talk about, right? So we have talked about different things. You combine it and you put. So that's the story in that. Yes, these are easy questions. So what I would say is, don't give it in a form of a table. Okay, write as point under topics as markers. I'm not very sure what that question is, but I would give this format. First explanation about oligopoly and then an explanation about monopoly, that is also okay. But for something like this, you can clearly show the difference. No? Right? You can clearly show. No? So a hinda, I would follow a structure like this. Right? Or else for other things. Now, for example, if they ask you, distinguish between price taker and price maker, then you don't have 4 or 5 points like this to say. No? What you will do, 2 marks will you explain price taker, next paragraph 2 marks, price maker. But for this one, instead of doing that format, go point by point. Number of firms, this is how it is. This one is how it is. Right? So you can go that. Yes, oligopoly, there are few firms. Okay, those are not questions you have to be asking me 4 months to go for the exam. Okay. So 6 things, right? I would recommend to go with 6 times because 6 mark question, but most like they might give you around 2 marks per thing. But others. No, I haven't written large, right? I said in oligopoly, there would be few dominant firms. No, this one have I said large? No, few dominant. Then 2015. 15 is saying, name the 4 types of market structures. These are the most disappointing questions that you will ever find in your A-level paper. Then the next one, 2017. State 2 differences between perfectly competitive and oligopoly. Easy, state 2 differences. So Anna, you can give it as the format that I gave before. Maybe start off with the number of firms. So you can say in perfect competition, there are large number of small firms. However, in an oligopoly, there are what? In an oligopoly, there are few dominant firms in the market. Then you can talk about barriers to it. You can talk about the price taker, price maker. So any 2 differences, we have talked about all of this. You just give it, you get your 4 marks. Easy as it is. The next one. Using 2 examples, what is meant by barriers to entry to an industry? What is barriers to entry, Lama? Barriers to entry is anything that prevents the entry of new firms. Entry of new firms into an industry. So what type of things can you give, Lama? So there are so much of things, right? So much of things that you 2017, how many differences? Well, this is where you have to read the question. And the question says 2 differences. Please don't ask me how many differences. Right? Here. So ownership of raw materials. Yes, fine. You can give that. Large introductory capital, right? Large startup cost. You can talk about Lamai what? So ownership of main raw materials held by a few firms. You can talk about large startup capital. You can talk about lamai natural monopolies. So product give an example and product explain the story lamai. For example, if you take large startup capital, think of something like electricity. Now, if you want to generate electricity and if you want to lamai supply electricity to Sri Lanka, it's not easy, no? It's not something like setting up a small shop out there. So imagine things, yeah, yes, barriers from the government itself, legal barriers by the government. You can talk about it that way. Uh, Natural, artificial, fine, but if you can, when you take natural barriers, they're not a lot, right? Just the natural monopoly story becomes a natural barrier. So yes, the natural barriers is the uh, economies of scale story. So maybe two of those for duck explain level. Give a small definition, then explain two of that. Yeah. Imperfect completion is okay, but not the best. Okay, to mention like here to TV, there when describing. It depends on where you are writing. Exactly where you're trying to put. Economies of scale does connect with this level. So natural monopolies can the one firm is so big, they have economies of scale. So then another firm can't even think of competing with these people because they have so low cost. So that could be the story there. Okay. Please don't look at my face and wait. Please write answers and come. Huh? The paper is sent beforehand for you all to do it and come. So do the paper and come. This is has to be just a discussion. We discuss. You mark right or wrong, add any new points. That is what you have to be doing right now. Right now, while I'm explaining, if you're trying to Tattagala right, then your answer writing is not going to improve now. You have to sit, take your proper time and do the paper. So every week is a small focus area. On the top of the paper, I have mentioned what is the area. So what you should ideally do is take your theory tunes or whatever notes that you have. First study that area, then close that, then do the paper. If it's hard for you, at least look at your tute and answer. Close the tute and write alone now. And then you come to this class and we discuss. Mention two examples for each firms and differentiate them. Not two examples for each firms here. Your examples for barriers to entry. That means the types. Okay. What are the four basic assumptions of perfect compression? When you say assumptions, Lamai, what are you referring to? Remember in a past paper they had? Assumptions mean? Assumptions are characteristics are, don't get scared here. They're talking about, so four basic characteristics. So they are saying what, Lamai? So if the question verb is what I told you, you can just mention. You don't have to explain. So what are the characteristics? Large number of buyers and sellers, perfect information, no barriers to entry, perfect elastic demand curve, price firm is a price taker. So any four, just mention, you get your four. Okay. Yeah, if today is your first day, that's okay. I'm just saying. For those who have been in the group since forever, right? Then 2021. It is a compare. Usually, yes, you can show mainly its differences, but good to show some similarities also. This one. So compare perfectly competitive market structure with a monopoly. So I'll show you Lamai, the original marking scheme for this since some of you all asked me the question. So they're asking the 2021 A-level paper. The question is compare perfect competition with monopolies. So then the question you have is, sir, should we only write differences? Should you write similarities also? So then let me show you the original marking scheme, then you will get an idea. Guys, you don't have to take my word for it. Give me a second. 2021. This is the 2021 A-level paper. Sharing, marking scheme. Question number 4. Question number 4, part 3. Okay. So here see, 1 mark each for any 4 differences. So, yes, this is the marking scheme. Huh? So, marking scheme will give it to you in a table. That doesn't mean you draw on a table. And see, even in this table that they have given, it's not one word. For example, they have not said large number of sellers, one seller. It's not like that, right? So here, when you say compare, you don't have a lot of similarities. No? So giving differences also is okay. Okay, here, there are large number of firms here. Here you say this. So then here you talk about price taker, and here you talk about price maker. Then very strong competition, no competition. So ideally, 4 different points should be perfectly fine. Both a normal profit in the long term, that also no. I think monopolies can earn supernormal profits in the long. In terms of similarities, any similarity that you all see? We also think perfect competition and monopoly. Maybe no advertise. That could be a similarity. And both firms will not advertise. Anything else? Similarities, perfect and a monopoly. Most of it is completely opposite. No, so there is not much similarities that you have. So most of it is differences. That's why even in the marking scheme, see 1 mark each for any 4 differences. They don't want you to write similarities. So you can only write the differences. That is completely fine. Cool. Okay. So let me come back to the screen. Hold on. That is 2021. Yeah, over. Done. Okay, so come back, show the differences now. Show the differences here of 4 things. So you can talk about price taker, price maker. You can talk about the number of firms. You can talk about the demand curve. You can talk about the barriers to enter, exit. You can talk about the type of product that they offer. So any 4 should be completely fine. Okay, then 2022. You see, same thing. State more 4 main features of a perfectly competitive industry. So same thing that was over here. No? State 4 assumptions of perfect competition. So that's how easy the questions are, Lamai. So you get very easy once repeated here and there. That is also done. Then you have this. State more 4 main features of oligopolistic competition. So again, take from our table, Lamai. From our table. So when you're writing points, write complete points. Don't, for example, say few dominant. So example, say in perfect competition, sorry, in oligopoly, there would be few large, or you can say few dominant firms. Then you can say the product that firms in oligopolies will offer could either be homogeneous or differentiated. Then you can say an oligopoly market will have considerable amount of barriers to entry. And write complete sentences. Don't just say homogeneous or differentiated product, barriers to entry. Are complete, write 4 points now. So that's what I will recommend. That's 2022. Who draws the cartoons for my paper? I don't draw it. It's from Daily Mirror, either Daily Mirror or Daily from the morning. It's from the newspapers. That's 2022. Then the last one, 2023. So 24, there has not been a question. State more, same thing. No. So that was the one that we discussed. 2023, state 4 features of oligopolistic. So write the features now. Shape. So that is all that you have in terms of the essay questions there. Manageable, right? Not hard. It can't be hard. If it is hard, it's a bit disappointing with 4 months to go. Any questions? Fine. That's focus area number 40. Done. Yes. Same question, yes, comes again and again and again and again. MCQs are 17 and 18. I was showing that for you now. Didn't you see that? 2017, these are the MCQs. Right. So I'll end this recording here. Okay. And then we're done with this.